So, Indiana Jones. Why are we watching this again?
Whose pick was it?
No one's. It was the collective.
Oh no, it was your pick, wasn't it? Because you picked all three of the trilogies.
We should have just done the before trilogy at this point. I do kind of regret it. You know, wear headphones in. Or are we testing the audio?
No, we're going. We're live.
Would we have done the before films instead of Indiana Jones?
What's the worst trilogy? I mean,
Shaft. Except it would have been
yeah,
good.
The worst trilogy that we've picked.
Yeah.
I mean, score-wise, it's going to be The Godfather. Cause,
What do you think? Would you really think so?
yeah, because these two.
Oh, and me, yeah.
I mean, part
you
three,
like one of those films.
That's not true. I like all
Alright.
of them. I like all of them.
There's a weak film in every trilogy that we've picked, and this is certainly the weak film of the Indiana Jones trilogy. It's Temple of Doom.
So what it seems to be coming down to is how weak is the weak film in the trilogy. Depends on how much you
As
win.
weak films go, I'd say this is probably the weakest weak film I'm gonna pick.
Yeah, I mean, Return of the Jedi is better. Godfather Part 3 is probably better. Let's think, what else are we doing?
Fistful of Dollars.
Fistful of Dollars we already know is going to be better. Because, and
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings doesn't have a fucking weak... We can't decide on the weak
It's
film.
the exception to the rule.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we literally can't decide between us. I'd say Return of the King's the weak one there, but then that's Ethan's favourite, right? So.
Yeah.
Can't agree. But I think we can all agree that this one is a bit of a nosedive in terms of quality. I've just gotten further away because I can't rather stand.
I used to kind of joke around saying Crystal Skull's better than this, which I don't think is actually true. I think this is better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I mean,
Tony,
I've seen Crystal Skull, and Crystal Skull's probably worse, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The
it's
secret fourth film that's actually even worse.
alright. How do we do a podcast again?
We talk about things that we like.
We do them so
Yeah, 'cause-
infrequently now. It's
Mate,
like it's like
they're starting again now.
It's like how in To the Moon, how like the memories you play are like so far apart that our lives have changed completely. That's what these podcasts are. It's like, oh yeah, Ethan, he's been dead for 2 years since we last recorded.
Yeah, we've got to find the 5 points so we can move on to the next timeline.
Oh, what's our one point?
Do you know what you do into the moon? You press A on everything. Almost like another great game. Alright. Temple
You
of
think
Doom.
I'm a clown? EXE Part 2.
Shall we start with the opening? Because that could almost give you the impression this might be a good film.
I would, you know what, I'd argue that this is a good film.
Should we give a basic synopsis of the film before we go into it?
Yeah, it's a Indiana Jones film where
It was just a suggestion.
No, yeah, it's the way you said before we get into it. That was mocking. Alright.
I think you'll find the station will be fully operational by the time your friends arrive.
Okay, it's set before the others. Entirely different.
I didn't know.
Wait, is it even set after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
You know what I mean.
Is it set? What? It's set before?
Yeah, it's set because this is the 30s.
I
I
didn't know
mean,
that.
World War II's not happening, so,
I didn't know that.
and the third one's still World War II. So, yeah.
It's news.
Different cast of characters. They're like, you know, that thing that made Raiders great. I guess what they were trying to go for is like a more of a kind of anthology style thing where the only carryover is Indy, right?
Yeah.
They were being like,
Yeah.
can we just tell stories of this character? The answer is no. Yeah.
I mean,
so
they
sta-
probably could have done it if the. Well, I think we'll all agree that the supporting cast kind of drags the film down.
Yeah. Having said that, though, he's definitely the strongest character in the film. Don't
Yeah.
you think?
They took one element of a great film and tried to just put him in a completely new scenario. It's almost like what they do with the 70s Roger Moore Bond films, where they're just like, we take the one character, send him to an exotic location, and have him run down a list of generic plot beats.
Fuck shit up.
But much like the Roger Moore Bond films, when a bunch of like white guys from England or the US are like, what's this country like? What do we know? They don't ask someone from that country. They just write a
They
list
just
of
make shit up.
they just write a list of things they've half heard or like seen for other.
Like, oh yeah, they probably eat chilled monkey brains over there.
Yeah. So in terms of cultural sensitivity, this isn't the most.
I mean, when did it come out again?
It's the
Had people
80s.
realised it was a bad thing by then?
Yeah, what year was it? So Last Crusade was what, 91 or 90?
Absolutely.
And
I
Raiders
think-
was 82, so this is what, 85,
I think
86?
they're
something?
all 80s, aren't they?
No, Last Crusade's 90, no,
Yeah, might be.
sure.
All right, let's check. Let's just fact check.
Crystal
but this
Skull
is-
is late 2000s.
Yeah, this
We're
is
counting that. We have to count
The Hobbit trilogy.
We have to count every film Clint Eastwood's ever made where he plays a cowboy.
God, Jesus.
Right.
Yeah, no, this feels like the most problematic Indiana Jones film.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it was 89.
I don't know.
And it's not even that it's down to being racially insensitive. It also doesn't. It's not a particularly feminist film.
I mean,
either,
it's
is it?
the thing is, I was fine with it in the first one but in this one it doesn't. It feels like it's not like inherently like mean spirited, but it's so flippant that it's almost there.
I say it is, because you go from the first film where I'd say Marion's kind of like for the time anyway, like kind of like an empowered character. And they're like, let's just do the screaming woman cliche. And then for the third one, they go back to another kind of, I don't know, this was such a weird sidestep.
I'd say Elsa's even more interesting than Marion as well.
But
It's such a weird...
Yeah, I like Frozen.
well, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen that film, but she's more sort of femme fatale, so it's it's a different
I
stereotype.
mean, I don't want to ruin that
More-
film, so I'm trying to avoid...
Well, she starts off by manipulating
I mean-
him, right, and making him think that.
I just said,
Star
I'm
Wars.
avoiding spoilers,
Yeah,
so
sorry.
it's not. You just describe the plot of the film.
Then there's the lighthouse. Yeah, I think more so than just it's a bad role model to women, because that's obviously true. It just does get annoying that everything Willie does is just scream at thing that is mildly uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's a very bad character.
It just gets boring after a while. She does punch one guy, and I was
Doesn't
like,
she
"Hey,
hit one with
that's
a
close
frying pan
enough."
At some point, have I just misremembered that?
I mean, I remember one pipe which is on the minecart. I mean, one punch which is on the minecart. The fucking race at the end, which I zoned out for.
I kind of like that. It's kind of like a roller coaster ride. I mean, this film,
Yeah,
I think I might
I know.
like this film the most out of everyone in terms of ratings. But yeah, the opening scene's really good. Like you can kind of in that opening scene, you can see what they were trying to do with Indiana Jones and what it could have been, which is just these random stories. Like it just drops you in musical number. You're in Shanghai in the 30s.
Yeah.
You don't know who any of these people
Speaking
are.
of Roger Moore, he just is Bond for that beginning
Yeah,
bit.
in the tux. It's just such a great scene. I even like the chase, even though we have to meet Short Round.
I actually like Short
I
Round.
prefer Short Round to Willie.
Yeah,
That-
definitely.
That,
but
might
that's
be
like a very low bar. That's the low. It's like I prefer Newt Gunray to Jar Jar Binks. Like,
Oh man, yeah, but Short Round definitely had a reputation going into this, and you know what? He is a bit like a Legolas character. Point out the obvious kind of thing, but I don't know. I felt like
is
he
it
was-
racist?
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
is he less racist than Hong Chow was in Downsizing?
That's true. But Downsizing is like a quintessentially 1-star film. So
I mean, when it comes down
Yeah,
to
but it's not 1 star just because of the racism.
yeah,
what it comes down to for me is that I just find him to be very annoying. I don't think it's anything to do with racism. I don't think it's because he's in a film with Willie. I just think he's a very irritating, short little character.
I feel like he kind of grew on me, to be fair.
he's got good moments, but he can get very annoying.
Yeah, basically anything that he says above talking volume just is just
Every time he says
I mean,
Dr. Jones,
He
it
does
is-
shout everything he says.
exactly. So there you go. He's John Marston. He hasn't got an inside voice, and that just ends up kind of getting on my bad side quite quickly, unfortunately. But yeah, he's better than Willie. I'll give him that.
Yeah. For a character that's just Indiana Jones's slave for some reason.
Yeah, they never address how they came
It's-
to.
It's not that bad.
Did they do that? Did they
They
ever?
mention how they met because
Yeah.
he tried to pickpocket something up in there.
Oh, yeah,
Now he's an
yes.
indentured servant for the rest of his
Yeah.
life.
I do kind of
Well,
like the
I-
idea that Indy just has friends everywhere. Wherever he
Yeah,
goes,
I
he'll
do
have-
like
Because he's got the waiter as well. Right at the start, that just gets shot and like has an emotional moment.
I know,
dying in his
that was
arms.
really strange. I was like, I've known him for like all of 30 seconds. You're really pulling this.
But yeah,
It is sad.
it's
I mean, it's sad for a guy that I've known for 30 seconds
though. Yeah,
dying.
for 30 seconds, they still do a good job making you feel sorry when he's slowly fading away. I think.
Yeah, but it was so over the top for a guy I don't know.
Yeah, I know, but it still hits for what it is. I think.
Alright, fair enough.
um,
I mean, it also feels kind of out of place with them, though. It's like, this is a really dramatic, sad death for a guy I don't know in the beginning of this film.
it feels like with Short Round they were trying to make like an Indiana Jones for the once they're done with Harrison Ford, just because like a lot of the shot, like there's an early one where an early shot where Short Round's got Indiana's hat on, and then just does exactly the same hand gestures as Indy is in that scene.
I think that'd be quite cool.
near the end when Indy's fighting against Big Beefy Boy and throwing
Yeah,
punches,
and it cuts to the Maharaj.
it zooms out to see Short Round doing exactly the same punches on a child.
I actually do think get the actor for Short Round back for Indiana Jones 5 and he's like an
I
adult.
think he'd be a lot more interesting.
I think they're gonna. But they've cast fucking Ken Jeong, who's the most annoying actor in the world.
Oh, was he the one from The Hangover?
He's the one from Community.
Yeah.
Wait, was he the one that was in Endgame?
Yeah.
Shit, yeah.
I did
Isn't it
think,
Endgame? Who is
God,
in Endgame?
wouldn't it be cool if Indiana Jones crossed over with the MCU?
I wonder if they were. Who is he? He's just some random. When Ant-Man comes back from the quantum realm,
The security guy.
and he wakes up in the van, and then there's the security guy. All right.
You telling me he didn't play the rat?
Play the
rat.
Or the rat from The Departed.
No, I think
His next big film.
really quickly. Have you seen that Costa Runquist video where he says that the rat is like a superhero and it's Remy from Ratatouille?
I did.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was the plan, that they were gonna, for the third one, bring back an older Short Round, because I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think the perception I get is that they were trying to make it more of like an anthology style thing, so they weren't just stuck by the World War II time frame. But I don't know. It feels like Lucas, Spielberg, and Kasdan were just trying to emulate the films they grew up on. So they were like, oh, let's just have an adventure film in a different country, you know, like an
Yeah,
cartoon
speaking
serial.
of that, I felt like the first one did a better job of feeling like an adventure in the sense that it took place over like different locales. You know, this one just sort of starts in China and then you kind of forget about that after the first 20 minutes.
Yeah,
other than Short Round sticks around, and then it just is in India for the rest of the film. Which, even though it's like almost 2 hours long, makes it feel like less sort of happens. Because the first one was like a proper globetrotter. You know, you see him in Oxford, you see him in Egypt, you see him all over the place, and
he goes to the Mediterranean by the end of it to some island.
Yeah, it's
Where
really
does
good.
Where does he go to meet Marion as well? Where does she live?
God, the fucking Alps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they definitely use the map more in that one.
Yeah, I like
this one
that
they
a
use the
lot
map
more.
once.
Yeah.
Well, if you like that, you're gonna love Last Crusade because they travel across half
That's
the
good.
world. Like they start off in Europe and end up in like Turkey. Well, I mean, I guess that's not half across the world, but they definitely go to a lot of places.
I feel like this one they had to kind of justify why him and his companions were sticking together, and the reason for that is because they were stuck in this place basically.
Yeah.
Which it kind of made sense. We should probably talk about things we like about it.
Yeah.
But I really quickly want to just mention though, setting a film in the 30s where a white guy comes from America and liberates slave children in India and then is saved by the British Empire at the end. Not a good look.
Yeah,
Not a good look.
It's pretty funny.
Just
Like-
the one conversation about the British Empire as well. It's like, the British Empire is too caring. I mean, it's tongue in cheek, but not enough. You can watch this film and just come away with the message, British Empire was good, it stopped people doing satanic rituals.
The more realistic thing would be like, it turns out the British Empire were behind the satanic rituals.
Yeah, especially since, you know, Indiana Jones is, I suppose, I have a feeling that a historian would probably be more, we actually were not that great, but maybe he was influenced by the propaganda of the time, who knows.
I mean, it was made in the 80s and 30s.
Yeah.
Okay, should we move on to fun things?
Yeah.
Good things?
Yeah,
'Cause this,
well, I mean,
I
like
think
what?
I think the film's pretty fun. It's got like, it can get grating those characters, but it's got a more light-hearted tone than the original, I'd say.
You see someone's heart get pulled out of their
That's true.
chest,
Yeah.
and then burst into flames.
And then you also see that same character. Well, no, as in the one doing the heart ripping out, get eaten by crocodiles quite viciously.
Yeah, okay, it's
And
definitely
then
more
there's
violent,
also-
but it can be, it's fun.
It's
It's-
the
I think
light-hearted one where he goes across a death drop and then gets distracted because of the child slavery happening beneath him.
The
It
first
feels
one is the
really
most
weird.
serious.
Like, I can't
Then
imagine
the
this
second, then
being
the
a
third.
children's film. The first one I would be like, okay, it's got the guy's face melting off, but I can deny that with some, plausible deniability. And this one is just like Indiana Jones is like, I'm on the quest to fuck for like a lot of the film. He's like, I can't really. Imagine bringing a child along for this.
I don't know if you guys saw the video I sent you, but this film is why PG-13 and 12
Yeah, I was
exists.
gonna mention that.
Because-
they keep towing the line.
Yeah, Spielberg basically just liked cramming in, like, Jaws is a fucking PG. Like, he liked putting a lot of, like, existential, like, horror and dread into kids' films, basically. And, this was kind of, this film was too much. But, yeah, there is a lot of violence, and which kind of, does come out of nowhere. Like, it just, like, this film, 40 minutes in, just drops satanic shit in, which I kind of dig. But, yeah, the third one is probably a straight comedy. I'd say Raiders is kind of... Yeah, Raiders is, I'd say, the most serious.
I mean, the first one, I don't know.
It's got jokes, but it's definitely... I feel like it's more straight. That's not really a franchise film. That's just Raiders of the Lost Ark. Whereas this, in its opening, it's got the best joke. I mean, I love
Yeah.
Goodbye, Loud Shay. No, so long, Loud Shay. Is it so long or goodbye?
I think it's so long.
I mean, for that thing though, I thought they were going to do something funnier with it though, because it would have been really funny if they had just like landed again immediately, which I thought that was going to happen, but they just sort of abandoned him. And then none of the Norhachi, none of that diamond, none of Lao Shen comes up again, which is, I don't know, kind of a shame.
Yeah, I'd say Willie and Sharant are comedy sidekicks as well. Like, giving Indy two fucking pretty incompetent sidekicks who just are very grating and annoying, because I'm not saying it always pays off. But yeah, I'd say it's fun. But then again, you could say a downside is that it just throws in fucking serious subject matter in there and sees what sticks. Like a guy getting crushed by a fucking... Well, the first one's worse with the propeller.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Maybe our reviews of these are just coming to accept the childhood trauma they created.
The childhood trauma is for the best of us. I mean, I don't know. This one felt less funny about it compared to the first one. It just, in my opinion, when it comes to the extreme violence. But I don't know.
There's definitely some comical stuff. Like, I still like the idea of just being in the middle of a bridge with two people coming either side, drop into gator-infested waters.
Actually, now that you mention
Is
that,
kind
that's a pretty great moment.
It's wacky.
I like it when Willie realises what he's gonna do.
Do you guys like the second round of the swordsman approaches Indy, shows off, goes for the gun?
Oh,
that was
yeah.
good.
Because that does make
But
no
then
sense because it's set
It's
before.
set before, yeah, exactly.
Well, he learns from that mistake.
That joke is only made for the audience who are aware of that moment in the first film.
There's also just a moment straight out of Star Wars, just of him running around the corner.
he runs
chasing
away.
after them.
Yeah.
It's this Harrison Ford just come preloaded with some jokes he can do.
It was pretty much the Star Wars guys. Like, but it's Ben Burr. Like, when you hear the plane going, I'm like, that's just the Star Wars sound effect there, Ben. It's not as obnoxious as John Williams using the love theme from Empire and Raiders of the Lost Ark multiple times.
In terms of the sound design, I think there's 2 Wilhelm screams in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, there's one when someone is shot in the head.
There's one at the end as
Someone
well.
wouldn't be able to scream.
It starts off with a musical number.
Do you guys like Mola Ram? That villain with a lot of personality. He's just a fucking costume.
Yeah.
The Lego version of Mola Ram has more character than the
Yeah,
real.
that's very true. Yeah,
He wants those stones.
yeah. There is still
Infinity Stone.
maybe less so now, but when you do see, I mean, we've already talked about, watching that film when you're younger. There is something very scary about watching a guy. I mean, you don't actually see it, but the suggestion of someone pulling a heart out of a guy. But he is quite intimidating. His entire look and design is quite scary, I'd say. The whole
he is
the
pretty
helmet that he
villainous.
has with the
It's
bones
almost
coming
so stupid. It's like the first. I'm not gonna say the first one's a realistic film, but up until the end, they kind of play down the supernatural elements, right? And then it fucking just straight into man ripping your heart out.
You betrayed Shiva,
Like
the Indian god, and so you're being punished for your sins.
Indy just turning evil for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, well,
That's quite weird.
yeah,
I'd
and the setup
completely
as well of
forgotten
the
about
setup as well of that blood of just like, oh yeah, it's like worse than death, a never-ending nightmare.
You
I
just have
think
to
it, like,
burn them in the
Yeah, how do
face.
they cure him? Do they just,
They just
Burn him in the face.
Just wave a little torch at him.
it's good stuff. It's good
The
stuff.
prince that's like a kid can go through those tunnels in Lego Indiana Jones. Maybe that's why I like it so much, because Lego Indiana Jones.
I mean, you know what? While we were all talking a minute ago, I was thinking about how I think the only thing that I really do like about this film is that because it exists, it made for some really good levels in the Lego game, and I quite like
I
that.
do like its existence. Like, I feel like if you just jump straight from Raiders to Crusade, you do miss something. Although there is a reason that instead of buying the Indiana Jones trilogy on Blu-ray for like £10, I spent more to individually buy Raiders and Last Crusade.
Yeah. But having said,
You could have just thrown it away.
No, I don't want it.
having said all of that, I feel like Tony is right. It does feel like a bit of a slog at times.
Yeah.
And I think
always
this
have
film
fun
is a
with
good
it.
example of how a film works if it has two quite prominent characters, one of which who is objectively very irritating, another of which I find very
Objectivity
irritating.
only exists
I mean,
with Billy Scott.
we just have to find out what Chris says, and he's objectively wrong. And he likes Willie and Shaw around, probably.
I like the scene when they. Well, actually, I think I like this film up until the satanic shit, and then I kind of go off it for a bit, and then I like the ending.
I feel like it
but
does the same joke so many times.
When they first arrive at the what would you, what's the word I'm looking for? Palace. Yeah, there we go. That's the word. And I like the scene where they're both waiting for each other. I think that's very funny.
I had Panaka in my head, but that's just the bodyguard from Phantom Menace, right? Captain Panaka or something. Yeah, but it is Bangkok Palace.
Yeah, I like that scene where they're both waiting for each other. I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah. I was expecting a better punchline. I vaguely remembered a better punchline than you kind of end up with.
Not gonna lie, I did forget a lot of this film.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot how it kind of gone out of nowhere.
I'd forgotten about the voodoo dolls.
Oh yeah, I kind of like that. I like that. I mean, if you're gonna embrace the weird mystical tone, the fact that voodoo dolls just work and magic is like the scene where he's on the conveyor belt and there's a pin in his back. That was a moment of tension.
I think that does
scene.
because you've already seen Indiana Jones just beats the shit out of guys in the first one. In this one, it beats the shit out of guys, but he's got to contend with a voodoo doll.
If every now and then he
interesting.
just like it does a weird collapse on the floor and screams.
I do the cinema sins nitpick of like, why didn't the villains in the third film use the voodoo doll to control it?
to actually,
Don't tell that's a serious thing that he's
to actually nitpick. The fuck happens to the other two Sankara stones?
Yeah,
presumably,
those villagers can
they
just die.
also came from other villages that had people that are starving and dying.
The other two had already been taken as well, because that's why they were digging, because the other two were like somewhere buried beneath that area, and now two of them are just in the river, so that's still like...
How many of the 7 elephant jokes did you guys like? This film is very elephant obsessed. They do the same spraying with water joke.
I mean, no, there was one good elephant-based humour where it was the snake. The snake was good. It feels really weird that it's a sequel because it has so many things that you'd think would be foreshadowing. Because the snake fear thing is so like subtle in this that unless you.
God, I can't wait to see how he gets that fear at the start of Last Crusade.
Unless you unless you've seen the first one, which obviously you should, but he's just kind of sort of just slightly recoils at the sight of snakes. It feels like this one really would make more sense as a prequel you're meant to watch before the other one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. It is a prequel that I always forget is a prequel because the setting almost doesn't matter, and it's not like a.
Especially when you fucking disgrace it so much with cultural insensitivity. I don't know. There are some parts that I do like. I do like that I assume the religious things are true. I think Siva and Kali are actual gods, right? Kali's in Spelunky, that's how I know her. I like that Indy knows Chinese to talk with Short Round, and they use that for their secret communication at the end. It's not all bad.
Indy just knows every language. They just talk to every.
You know who else knows every language? He's got friends all across the world, in every place.
We'll get to that film.
Yeah, we will.
I like as well like the kind of start of the film from like Indy's point of view, it's just when a child wanders up with a scrap of paper, basically, it sort of picks up, looks at that, it's like, oh yeah, no, this is worth my time, guys.
Yeah, I do think this one plays up that he has more of a moral compass though, because he does sort of go out of his way to do the good thing in this one. He doesn't just abandon children that are being enslaved.
Yeah, and he doesn't sell off the stone to a museum.
I feel like the fact that in the third one he's like, this belongs in a museum. You can see the character growth there. But in the I feel like because the other two are so good, this kind of gets unjust hate. I don't know, because it's definitely not a great film.
If it was the only Indiana Jones,
yeah, that's what I mean.
I still wouldn't like it that much.
Yeah, but I think it would be. I think it would get more respect.
I don't know, only slightly more.
I don't know, because I went in before this thinking, oh, this is going to be a 3 or a 4. I hate this film, and
that's a bit harsh.
Because like that was my idea of this film in my head was like, this is a very bad film. It's just going to go back. I'm going to go back.
You thought it'd be as low as a 3.
I don't know. I wasn't looking forward to it. Well, the only things I really remembered were the bad things. So maybe that's why I'm probably the most positive here. Because when I went in, I had fun with it. I was just like, actually, this isn't as bad as I remember it being.
I set my expectations low enough that it surpassed them.
Yeah, and like I mean, I don't particularly want to watch it again, But and it might be the weakest of all the weak films we have. But it's still not. I wouldn't call this a bad film.
No, I don't particularly regret watching it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how much more we have to say about it, because it is a fine film.
It's just about a guy, that something happens in the beginning for 20 minutes, then he has to go and get some stones, and he gets them.
That opening scene.
That's it.
That opening scene is cracking though. I had the Lego set as well. There's 2 cars.
Yeah, no.
That was a solid Lego set. You got those guns.
Yeah.
That gunman with that weird smile.
We'll say the ending though is sort of terrible. Of like Indy doesn't take no for an answer, pulls her towards him for a kiss, and
James
then all
Bond
the,
inspiration.
007.
and then all the natives just like run around and cheer, like, yeah.
You know what this totally reminded me of? It reminded me of Game of Thrones. He was like a Khaleesi, like breaker of chains, from fucking what's that place from like 4 seasons ago.
Is it Marine?
Marine, yeah.
That's like
that's
Indy
what
doesn't
he was
actually give a
doing.
shit about Willie though. Like
Yeah, no,
he's not
okay.
trying to win her over. He's trying. Like I feel like she's just getting in the way of him trying to solve this problem.
But then in all
She does
fairness,
say that all
just
the time.
like Indiana, she does come along, see that there's bad shit in the world, and actually tries to make a change.
Yes.
So good for her.
I suppose it's not intentionally malicious what they're showing.
Yeah.
It's just a bit like, I don't know.
Indiana was the dog's name.
Oh yeah, like Indiana Jones, second of his name, like how they do for Khaleesi, because of course Indiana Jones was the dog's name.
Yeah. We call it the dog.
The fact that we're just doing Sean Connery impressions says it's probably time to wrap this up.
Junior.
Let's just watch that now.
We could.
Should we slap some numbers on this? I don't want to go first. I want to see what the bar is.
Alright.
Harry, you picked this trilogy like you did the other ones, so you can go
He picked
first.
this series. He picked 12 Angry Films.
Quad-Trilogy.
Look, we could be doing the Avengers right now, I
We
think.
could
or
not
Iron Man
be doing
3.
it. We don't have to do a set number of podcasts.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is a
We could
film.
be doing Juniper Ascending.
Oh.
You should just end your review there. It just is
Yeah.
a film.
It's better than Jupiter Ascending. It's better than VA11 Hall because it's a
That's
6
not
out of
true.
10.
That's not true. I want to lower the score. I was going to agree with you, but now I don't. Out of
Yeah.
spite. Ethan, do you want to go?
I mean, it's probably better than The Last of Us. to be honest.
It's not
Uh,
first
is it
person
10?
ladderer.
have you given it a score?
Yeah, I give it a 6.
Okay. Well, see, the thing is, right, I've already said that the side character... Oh, God, I mean, when you compare this film to The Last Crusade, right, I mean, I feel like The Last Crusade has, as a film, probably has one of the best, like, supporting characters of any film. Because with Indy, you've got his dad, who is Sean Connery, and Salah makes a return, and Brody is there as well, and they all have these
Brody.
really sort of colourful personalities, and they're all very, very funny. and it just makes for like a really, really compelling story for the third film. And in this, you just have Short Round, who I find kind of annoying, even though he does have his moments every now and then. And Ridley Scott, who just is very irritating. I mean, it says something, right? That in the Lego Indiana Jones films, in any Lego film, Lego game, sorry, they have the characters have sort of abilities, right? They have things that they can do. And do you know what Willie's special ability, apart from being able to double jump, is?
Scream.
Scream. That's her superpower. That's what she does to break glass objects. And Indy's got his whip, and he can do really cool things, and all she can do is scream. It's just.
Short Round can go into those vents.
Short Round, small.
Yeah, I know.
Sure.
But I mean, I'm not
Good
fighting
round.
Short Round. I'm not fighting for Short Round either, because I do.
He's
fight
actually
Short
not
Round.
that round.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I
It's lied to.
like I have did the two films. I really have good memories of watching all three of these films from when I was younger. And Raiders and the Last Crusade are the only ones that hold up. I'm very disappointed for how, for what I think of Temple of Doom, having rewatched it recently. And I kind of wish that I had just watched it, a lot when I was younger and not gone to revisit it to know just how kind of naff a film it is, to be honest. So, I mean, I will give it a 6 as well, because it does have good sequences. But you're right, it's quite racially insensitive, and Willie Scott is just a terrible character. So that's all I'm gonna say, I'm afraid. I mean, guys, when I think about the sequences in this film, I think about the levels from the Lego game, which are a lot more fun. Like the minecart sequence in the Lego game, it's just better, isn't it, than in the film?
I mean, that sequence is basically like watching a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I get that it would be a good game. It's like when you watch the pod race. It is just a better game.
Yeah. And I know that I'm comparing a game with a film here, and you shouldn't really do that. But having said that, when I think of
It's
myself,
no
watching
The
that
Godfather
film,
the game, which is our ultimate
Yeah.
scale.
I was thinking about, after we do all these trilogies, we could play the Lego trilogies of all of these. With the Godfather Lego trilogy.
Review that letter.
Yeah, but anyway, that wraps me up. I'll give it a 6 out of 10, and I think that's been quite kind as well.
Steven Spielberg, I feel like he's fallen from grace compared to his work on Ready Player One.
Which of course he did before this one.
It's better than that. It's
Maybe.
definitely better than
Yeah,
that.
I don't know. I do. My
Definitely. I don't even know how to think about that. Ready Player One is not.
Ready Player One would be like would just score very low if it didn't have the shining sequence.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I
but
don't
it
know.
does.
I feel
Batman wouldn't be good if it didn't have Batman in it.
this film would be good if nobody's got it.
I feel like most of the points or rating that I would give to Ready Player One just comes from seeing the bike from Akira.
It was just a joke. You think we can fucking end this podcast? All right, yeah, I don't regret watching it. At the time, I was like, yeah, there's some okay things, but in retrospect, I'm kind of feeling pretty lukewarm on it. So I don't know. I do think it has maybe like Indiana Jones as a series overall a bit more, because I spent a bit more time with the one good character in this film. It's like, hey, he can do the whip for cool things. When there's a closing door, he reaches under it and grabs his hat. It's like fucking the cowboy film.
You have a go every time that Clayton walks into a town followed by 3 men.
It's because he does it like 5 times. He grabs his hat like once in this.
He does it once.
They're much slower paced films as well. So like when your main blips are things that have happened before. Like if the like good, the bad, and the ugly, it's just there's satanic rituals going on. Like
I would fucking love that. Like that's why it's a 10. I get it.
I'll give this a
I would
solid.
hate
I'll
to get the
solid
bad
5
ugly
out of
if
10.
It just came.
I'll leave it.
It's
at
like
that.
it's like those spaghetti westerns have like concrete stories. They don't bring things in out of nowhere. They set things up and they set up plot threads and stuff. It doesn't just all come in out of nowhere like the satanic.
It would be
rituals
so
and
good
shit.
if we got to the final duel of the good, bad, ugly, and then suddenly characters from other Western films started coming in. Like we heard the harmonica, and we're like, what the fuck? And like it was like a 20-person duel, like the end of Avengers Endgame.
Oh my god! You know what? Having said that, that sounds really lame, but I would love that. Like, I would really want to see that.
You know what I actually would want, right? Going back to this should cross over with the MCU from earlier. Who owns the rights to this, by the way? Is it Fox?
It was Lucasfilm, I think.
So is it absorbed onto Disney now? Like most
Yes,
things.
I imagine so.
That means they could do this, right? Indiana Jones 5, like they all do different mythologies, right? They've done Egyptian, they've done Indian for the 5th one. They do Norse mythology. They bring in Thor and Loki. They have Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston just playing Thor and Loki, but they never mention the MCU. They're like slightly different characters, and they just ignore.
It's like Ritual of the Night, Bloodstained.
Anyway, that's my fan theory.
It just gets revealed that there's a seventh Infinity Stone that just is the Ark of the Covenant.
So you could have said the stone from this film, but you chose the Ark of the Covenant.
They have to go and put the like
even the
time
Grail
soul
would have been
and
a more
space
suitable.
stone.
The thing is, what's inside the Ark? The Ark is a
Ghosts.
box. There could be
Sand.
anything in it.
Sand, yeah.
Ghosts.
I hate
Melty
sand.
face ghosts.
It's rough and coarse and melts the face of Nazis.
I mean, the other thing
The
is,
Sam was a good guy.
have I not told you that in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Clint Eastwood frees all the slaves? That's like what the film's about.
And then he looks at the camera and goes, "The British Empire was actually pretty good." All right,
Oh,
Johnny.
man. Good thing we have Green Book to solve racism.
Come on, I saw your letterbox score. Don't be changing it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for a 4.
Oh, that's harsh.
Yeah, I mean, I was moving between like a 5 and just the problematic nature of it. I feel I have to make a stance and go down. Well, my reasoning is,
22.
base score
10,
of
10,
5.
1, 1.
Base score of 5 plus 1 because I'll give it was kind of fun. Minus 2 because it was problematic. We're 4.
That's quite systematically put.
It's more just I don't know what to give it, so I thought it through like that.
Fair enough. Alright.
Seems pretty reasonable.
Join us next week where I walk out because I get pissed off no one else likes the Godfather Part 2. How do I end this? I want to end this.